Next, we will move on to the case study number 4 on clinical trials. We will have Mr. Jin-san Yu, the CEO of Pharmapsin.
Thank you, organizer. Thank you, Korea and Australia. Pharmapsin is a clinical stage public company listed in Kosdaq, and I want to share within 15 minutes our experience of clinical trials in Australia. So olinzumab is our flagship pipeline, currently phase 2. We entered among Korean biotech and pharma. We are the first who initiate clinical trial in Australia as anti-cancer drugs. It was 2015, and the final trial report was available on 2018. And since then, currently, we are running 3 clinical trials in Australia and in the States. One in monotherapy for Avastin relapsed refractory recurrent GBM, and 2 combo trials with Merck's Keytruda together. These combo trials are still running because the patients are still fine. But our first clinical trial was very satisfying. After this trial, we got orphan drug designation from US FDA, Korean FDA, and we got IND approval from US FDA for these Avastin non-responding phase 2 trials. And the last but least, Global Pharma Merck engaged us to initiate combo trial with our investment. So currently 3 clinical trials, but next year and end of this year, we're gonna add 4 additional clinical trials. We're gonna initiate phase 2 olinzumab Keytruda combo for metastatic triple-negative breast cancers, but also one as a next generation immune checkpoint blockade called PMC309. Ryan just told from Thermo Fisher, we engaged to manufacture our PMC309 clinical trial sample at Thermo Fisher in Brisbane. And 2 other assets, PMC42 and 43, are still manufacturing at CDMO on Samsung Biologics in Songdo in South Korea. And these 3 molecules will enter clinical trials in Australia for cancer patients in Australia. So why we initiate the clinical trial? The previous speakers, Julie and Dan, everybody talk about the benefit of clinical trial in Australia. I don't want to echo, but if you do clinical trial for oncology asset in Australia, you will get Caucasian patients, and Global Pharma like that. Our phase 1 in Samsung Medical Center, we recruited all senior cancer patients with almost terminal stage. We proved our olinzumab as a 60% stable disease, meaning that cancer growth stopped, metastasis stopped. Safety profile was fantastic. But all Korean patients, and Global Pharma wanted to look at whether Caucasian patients respond similar way. So Australian trial, you will get those opportunities. So all 3 clinical trials and previous study, we have all 100% Caucasian patients. Australia is possible. And the time zone is remarkable. I mean, we are running clinical trial in US. It's a really pain in the ass from Korean side. But in Australia, I don't want any complaint for this. So if you have any asset to consider to clinical trial, I would just say consider Australia. And Pharmapsin is a 13 years company. After 10 years from the founding, we went to IPO. And until IPO, we consume about less than $40 million US. But still we could run clinical trials. I operate company very cash efficient way, but the tax refund from Australian government is one of the great contribution factors how you can save money, investors' money. So I can step down, actually. I deliver all messages, but the old slide deck that I have is just entertaining purpose because it's, after lunch, everybody's getting nap. So, cancer matters. Anyone to argue that? No one. Well, that's why we are working on it. If you have any family member who has a cancer, this picture is very familiar. And the death rate and cancer incidence is increasing. Regardless of COVID-19 pandemic, people die. People diagnosed with cancer. Well, many scientists develop anti-cancer drugs, as you can see in 90s, 20s. Well, now the paradigm shift to immune checkpoint blockade and better clinical outcome, but you have to pay more money. So we call it financial toxicity too. And just people talk about the cell therapy, look at the Escara and Kymriah, how much you have to pay. So cancer drug market flourish, actually. So this is opportunity. But still, the all cancer drugs, $200 billion annually, has a limitation. We think this is an opportunity. Let's say Roche's Gelvoraf, melanoma drugs. If you have a melanoma and you give Gelvoraf, the skin cancer improves. But within 6 months, the more aggressive tumor is back and people die. That's the real world data. And we think just killing cancer cell has a limitation on previous concept. So you have to manage the entire tumor microenvironment, and you have to deliver drug to tumor microenvironment, more efficient way to manage also safety issues. So when we are healthy, vessel looks great. But if the tumor is growing, the vessel is messy, actually. And you can compare with that too. So you have to balancing out. So olimbasimab, Dr. Park at Samsung Medical Center did a great job. It's our phase 1, 60% stable disease, no hypertension, gastric lung perforation, fantastic. So we went to Australia for looking for Caucasian patients. And we initiate Olivia Newton-John Cancer Center. Anybody knows Olivia Newton-John, singer? Good, you're old. So, and Charles Gairdner Hospital. And Korean people start look at, well, Farmapsin escaped to Australia to look, low-grade hospital. It's not true. Olivia Newton-John Cancer Center was globally ranked 11, most innovative cancer center. And if you make a site visit, the infrastructure you cannot find in Samsung or Assam Medical Center. It's a state of art. So we recruited recurrent glioblastoma patient in Australia because this tumor is so despeраting, and we had a very promising data. That's why we enter this ODD and Merck story together. So we shrink the tumor size, we manage the brain edema, etc. So olimbasimab has done what he has done for recurrent GBM. And then we published, presented ASCO, SNO, and etc. These are 2 PIs at the conference after presentation. And then I had enjoyed communication with pediatric neuro-oncologist from Stanford. He said, olimbasimab is so safe, why don't you consider the clinical trial for children who has brain tumors? And I didn't know that before, whether children get brain tumor. But children die by brain tumor as a number one. So we are considering this too. So this is the ODD from US FDA. We got the IND approval for Avastin non-responding recurrent GBM because Avastin is fully approved for recurrent GBM without any survival benefit, but it relieves the feeling the liquid in the brain. So as kind of quality of life. And I'm sure that all investment can do better. And this is the Snow again, and this is the Stanford PI. And then we enter collaboration as Merck. Recently stepped down, got Ken Frazier as a legend. And Keytruda is the number one sales immune checkpoint blockade. And you may remember Jimmy Carter, ex-US president, who had a melanoma brain metastasis. After a couple shots with Keytruda, this skin cancer in his brain eradicated. So 0% tumor, and he still survived. Amazing drug. But not everybody is so happy like, lucky as Jimmy Carter's. So we enter olinvestment pembrolizumab combo with metastatic triple-negative breast cancer. And the study was excellent. So we presented at San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium last year. Amazing number, 50% objective response rate. You never get such a number in metastatic triple-negative breast cancer so far. Gilead bought Immunomedics and paid $21 billion this venture. Immunomedics has Trodelvy. That's a metastatic triple-negative breast cancer targeting drug, ADC drug. They paid $21 billion. And the objective response rate is 35%. So 50% is very promising, and 67% DCR is promising. That's why Merck and Palmepsin are overexcited, and we are entering phase 2 as global trials. So these are involved on also combo with recurrent GBM trials. And in order to get the tax refund, I love Sydney and Melbourne, but Brisbane was cheaper. So we opened the Brisbane as a subsidiary. Not bad, well, even better, because I love this city, cheaper, affordable, but also they have one of the best medical schools, Queensland University Medical Center, and QIMR. The old PIs of QIMR, I love them. They're all from globally recruited. And I spent 1 week like a QIMR scientist. I enjoyed every seminar and conversation. It's just like a healing, how they're capable to communicate exciting science, share the idea. So consider to open the site. Sydney and Melbourne, every city is great, but Brisbane is cheaper. And I had a communication and networking with Australian friends. And those are friends. There's a celebrity in Korea. And again, we are preparing PMC-309 as a next generation immune checkpoint blockade. We are very excited about PD-1 antagonizing antibody non-responding patients. And PMC-4243, excellent molecule to normalize leaky, pathological, disorganized vessel to healthy vessels. Has a huge potential, not only in oncology, but we are pursuing now sepsis, COVID-19 related or non-related ARDS, diabetic kidney disease, AMD, you name it. Because our body consists of 70% fluid. That's why vessel matters. And healthy vessel matters. When vessel doesn't do their job well, you're going to get disease. So PMC-4243 will be their job. So this is some official issues. I was great honor I gave my talk with Peter, and I invited Peter to give a GBC conference this year and Antibody Society of Korea. So he was so generous. Well, yeah, it's an exciting moment, I have to say. And I have so many good friends, help, and QIMR PIs. And take-home message I already gave you, so I'm going to stop here. But as a matter of fact, patients who are waiting, collaboration matters. Thank you very much.